The scientific method is a process for experimentation that is used to explore observations and answer questions.
The first step is purpose or question. For example, ask yourself, what do you want to learn?
The next step is to research and find out as much as you can. You can look for information in books, on the internet, and by talking with teachers to get the most information you can before you start your experiment.
After that is the hypothesis. After doing your research, try to predict the answer to the problem.
After the hypothesis is the experiment. Design a test or procedure to find out if your hypothesis is correct.
Next is the analysis, which is when you record what happens during the experiment.
Last is the conclusion. This is when you review the data and check to see if your hypothesis was correct.
Some other words you may need to know is dependent variable, independent variable, and the control. The independent variable is the part of your experiment that you will test to answer your hypothesis.
The dependent variable is what occurs in response to the changing independent variable.
Control should be the part of the experiment where you do not include the independent variable.
Half-life is the amount of time required for a quantity to fall to half its value as measured at the beginning of the time period.
Knowledge of the half-life allows scientists to determine the length of time that a particular radioactive element may be dangerous.
Feedback means that the results of a process feed back into the system to change the rate of that process.
Negative feedback is when a system responds to a change by returning back to its original state, or at least by decreasing.
A positive feedback loop is a feedback loop in which change in a system is amplified.
There is a positive feedback loop that is making temperatures warmer.
Anthropogenic factors lead to a breakdown in a negative feedback loop and drive an environmental system away from its steady state. Energy is the ability to do work.
First law of thermodynamics states that energy can be changed from one form to another but cannot be created or destroyed.
The second law of thermodynamics states that in all energy exchanges, if no energy enters or leaves the system, the potential energy of the state will always be less than that of the initial.
The second law of thermodynamics is also called entropy.
Entropy is a measure of disorder. Cells are not disordered, and therefore they have low entropy.
Potential energy is the energy that has not yet been used.
Potential energy can be converted into kinetic energy, which is energy in use or motion.